Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships with Wadres. And for today's video, I am going to be going over and discussing the patch notes for update 10.0, the first patch effectively of 2021. And it's got at least one doozy of an issue in it. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Now, first off, in the banners at least, we are seeing the Lunar New Year event. This is going to have some themed ships, a few combat missions, special loot boxes, things like that, things that we're used to by at this point. Let's see, we've got the Wujing, the Sanzang, and a couple of other premiums that are being brought in for the Pan-Asian line, I believe it is, actually, for the Lunar New Year. So, I mean, I suppose some nice premiums, though it would be nice to see maybe some, like, I don't know, actual truck line ships for Pan-Asian, but that's another matter entirely. I think that's primarily focused on destroyers anyway, so yeah, not really sure what to say on that one, honestly. But, I mean, some of these camo patterns look interesting. I'm kind of curious. Well, I mean, it is tier 8, so that's really not too overboard. But it would definitely be nice to know sort of what the base of aircraft and I guess is for some of these ships. But other than that, we do have a few other Pan-Asian ships that are coming in other Lunar New Year containers, which are the Fanyang, the Siliwangi, Irian, Loyang, Anshan, Huanghe, and there also looks like the chance to get special camouflages for those ships as well for the Lunar New Year event. Daily shipments, overall nothing incredible or spectacular. I mean, basic login minimals here. I mean, 2 camos, about 150,000 credits total, 50 doubloons. Yeah, nothing special there, but I mean, it's your daily token for showing up. But here's the big one that's coming around this time, folks. Commander Skills Update. Yes, the Commander Skill Tree is getting an impressively detailed overhaul. And I'll admit, personally, I've got some mixed feelings about some of the things I've been hearing about this one, but I will reserve some judgment until after it has gone live, and I'm not entirely sure how, afterwards, just how salty I may end up being, depending on how some of this actually works out. But let's see. There are skills that are being added and some that are being changed. Each commander will have a separate skill section for each ship. Now, I could definitely see this being a major bonus for ships that or for tech lines especially, that have very specific, unique commanders, like, say, the Germans with Lutjens, or maybe even John Doe. The ones that have very unique skills and bonuses, unlockable talents, etc. and so forth. Because now what this means is you can have them spec'd for carrier, destroyer, CV, and battleships, all in one commander. Basically have one commander be a jack of all trades for all of your battleships, all of your, and primarily meaning your premium battleships, your premium destroyers, premium carriers, and premium cruisers, without ever having to retrain or respec any of those skills as long as those skills are relevant for the ship that are being transferred into. So I could definitely see that as a major bonus for players who really like to have as few commanders as possible to bounce around, and in some ways I'm kind of in that arena myself, because I'm getting tired of bouncing some commanders around. So, or more for the matter, having commanders for basically each and every specific ship, or a specific type of ship, and not really having the ability to move over to others, like, say, cruisers or destroyers. Now, they are adding a couple of skill points, going from 19 maximum to 21 maximum skill points. And to my understanding, that is going to be a rather steep increase in EXP required. But there are some things that can help with that. First and foremost being that all commanders will convert 5% of earned EXP into Elite Commander EXP. And one of the things that they mentioned is dismissing unused commanders will also yield Elite Commander EXP. So, now, granted, they haven't discussed ratio or anything in the article. I don't know if that's going to be full conversion or half conversion, but either way, if you have a whole bunch of commanders that you dismiss, you could probably get at least one or two of your special unique commanders up to 21 skill points and basically just bounce them around however you feel like. I would also recommend highly to, in some regards, just keep some of the commanders, though, for ships that have very unique traits within their tech lines. Just because it will be easier overall, and of course, actually having individual commanders for the tech line ships. Somebody who can bounce around for all of your premiums, that's another matter. But your tech line ships, those are going to be, you'd still have to do at least retraining and whatnot. And I mean, if you have the ability to retrain for free or whatever, that's entirely up to you. Go ahead and do it. But for some of you, like myself, who doesn't have that luxury sometimes, it's nice to just have a commander that's set for that ship and ready to go, even if he is low on skill points. There also does seem to be a interface overhaul to commander skills, recruitment, reassignment, dismissal, as they say right here. And it'll be interesting again to see how that all works. Now, I am a little bit dubious about this one, but at least they are giving free respecs and retrains for commanders, at least over the course of the first little bit of 10.0, so that players aren't just going to feel set into a commander build that they are, by the looks of it, dumped into once everything gets going here. So, yeah. Let's see. As they say here, discounts and bonuses, at least until February 17th by the looks of it. Commander skills will be reset free of charge. Upgrades can be demounted free of charge. Doubloons to retrain commanders for different ships is reduced from 500 to 50 doubloons. So, I mean, if you have purpose-built commanders for very specific ships, this will help you move them around, I guess, get them reset, and maybe even just get your super special unique commanders where they need to be and just not have to mess with it after that. Let's see. Players access level 8 and above will receive 500 doubloons upon first login. There will be 6 special combat missions, one for each of the major ship branches. And those will, by the looks of it, deliver 100 doubloons each for a total of 1,100 doubloons in total for any commanders. And I mean, that definitely sounds respectable, if nothing else. There is the Heisen Dockyard, which is going to continue for the duration of this patch. So you can still complete the shipyard combat missions and all of that. But as they note both in a number of locations, that you will, even if you complete and progress through all of the combat missions that can give you shipbuilding phase completion, you will still need to spend doubloons for at least the last 4 phases to completely unlock the Heisen. Coming down to clan brawls, they are getting a little bit of an adjustment. Let's see, 7 versus 7. Brawls are open to all, and you can be a mercenary, or you can even be the one and only operating in your clan for a division and hire as many as 6 mercenaries. So very, very interesting thought there. But, I mean, hey, if you are a clan to yourself and you don't get into clan brawls, maybe this one would be a good one for you all to enjoy. There are some restrictions, however, to the clan brawls that have been listed. Aircraft carriers are not being allowed. And as it says, up to 6 mercenaries per division, and no more than 2 battleships to a team. Game maps and modes, they are putting in Islands of Ice, Mountain Range, Trident, Warrior's Path, and Sleeping Giant in the Arms Race mode. Rewards for each brawl is 5,000 coal, 3 million credits, and 120,000 Elite Commander EXP. I'm probably not going to get involved in that personally, but, I mean, I know there are those of you out there who are interested in that sort of thing, so, oorah, all power to you. There's your information on that. Let's see, game balance changes. And this is actually one of the big ones that is stemming as a result of the commander's skill changes. This is standard firing range changes to secondary batteries of battleships and cruisers. Again, this is in response, I think, to adjustments that are being made, specifically the removal or adjustment change of AFT, BFT. They're going away, or their parameters are being changed, where you don't get that specific range boost and those things anymore. I also don't think secondary battery or manual fire control for secondaries is a thing anymore either. I have not actually seen the full spec, so I'm going to be actually getting the look on this when all of this goes live on Wednesday myself as well. So, anyway, starting off, we have standard firing range at tier 3, 4 through 10. French and German versus all other tech lines. German and French say tier 4 or tier 3, you get 4 kilometers versus 3.2, 4.8 versus 4, 4.95 versus 4.3, all the way up to tier 10 where it's 8.3 kilometers versus 7.3 kilometers, just to give you a decent base firing range bonus to your secondary battleships and whatnot. With all of these specific upgrades and skills that you can apply, German and French battleships at, say, tier 10 will reach out to a rather noticeable and astounding 12.5 kilometers, and that is also not taking into account some signals, I believe. Whether or not the signal is going to be taken away, and I believe it's the Yankee Sock 6 or something like that. But then all other tech lines are only able to reach out to 11 kilometers on their secondaries with all effective upgrades and skills. So this is going to include U.S. battleships. Say Massachusetts will only be able to reach out to 10 kilometers. Montana would be able to reach out to 11 kilometers. And yes, I realize I'm using U.S. battleships, but you know what? Those are my basic frame of reference. Let's see. Secondary battery firing range was originally higher. It will not be decreased. A ship's detectability is another limiter. Maximum range of secondary battery should not exceed minimum possible detectability. As such, secondary battery firing range of the following ships has been reduced. So this is actually a nerf to a couple of very specific ships, I might add. August von Parzival and Manfred von Richthofen. The Parzival is going from 7 to 6.6 kilometers, and the Richthofen is going from 7.2 to 6.9 kilometers base secondary battery firing range. Now, again, I call this a nerf because these are German aircraft carriers, as just about anybody knows by now, and one of the notable traits of German aircraft carriers is their ability to use secondaries to great effect as far as defensive weapons, or even occasionally, if you really decide to play that risky, semi-offensive weapons by moving your hull into the combat zone and basically becoming a floating fortress of a semi-fortress of doom. I don't know, but yeah. So it is a little bit of a nerf on range for those, and of course, these are ships that could also technically be spec'd for secondaries because their secondaries are so effective. But with this nerf, it is going to be an overall nerf to their secondary capabilities. Let's see. On the other hand, the Tier 10 Premium British cruiser Plymouth's secondary battery firing range is being bumped out to 7.25 kilometers. So, yeah, that's an interesting change right there, but okay, whatever. Let's see. Tier 7 and Tier 10 German battleships. Now, because I do think there are some accuracy changes, for example, I think the manual fire control for secondary batteries is going away. Again, haven't gotten a look at these skills, but if this is being a thing, I don't think that's going to be an inaccurate assessment. The secondary battery accuracy of Tier 7 through 10 German battleships has been increased. The accuracy will increase by 50%. So it is a huge bonus to secondary battery accuracy of German battleships. But I'm waiting to see where the nerf hammer falls on this one, honestly. Just throwing that one out there. Overall, engine damage is now being given a nerf. It will no longer fully stop a ship, which, honestly, in some regards, I see that as a bonus. It does mean that there are some skills, assuming they still exist, that will no longer be necessary for, at least not entirely necessary, for certain ships like, say, destroyers. Just throwing that one out there. Again, I'm curious as to why this is being implemented, because that almost tells me that the preventative maintenance, I take it back, the last stand skill may be getting adjustments as well. So I'm kind of wary of that one. But all engines, regardless of class, will still function at 20% efficiency, so at least you will not be entirely immobile and helpless, regardless of your ship class anymore. So there's at least something to be said for that. let's see, Atlanta and Atlanta B are getting a standard main battery firing range increase from 11.1 to 13.3 kilometers. Basically, this is the Atlanta's range if it were to outfit advanced firing training. So, hooray there. There is one thing that I have not seen, and I'm a little up in the air as, in fact, in some regards, I'm actually a little bit disappointed in that the Flint, which is basically the Atlanta -1 main battery gun, granted it does have its smoke generator, has not gotten a range increase. So this is actually going to be a substantial nerf to the Flint, with AFT being gone, essentially, from what I've been hearing. So now the Flint is only going to operate 11.1 kilometers for her main battery. So, yeah, she's going to lose some of her, I guess, long-range functionality, especially against, say, battleships. So, and I'll admit, part of why I'm thinking about this ship specifically is because it is a phenomenal ship for a couple of very specific scenarios. Or was phenomenal for a couple of specific scenarios, is currently phenomenal really only for Nera, because that's the only scenario in which it can operate anymore. Wargaming. We need operations back. Anyway, Tier 10 Colbert is getting improved acceleration and deceleration dynamics. I don't know if that means she's going to speed up or slow down faster. I don't know. They don't exactly explain that one. They just say that it's been improved. I'm assuming that means they're getting better. Can't really make any judgment based on the wording alone. Now, I would assume that if it was a nerf in some regards, then it would say something like what it says for the Nino Bixio, which is the dynamics have been decreased to standard values. Again, not knowing what the standard values are, but okay, whatever. Let's see. Toronto is getting a little bit of a buff on top of the acceleration-deceleration dynamic nerf, but her main battery reload is going from 12 to 11.2 seconds. The Tier 5 Oklahoma, which is a reward ship, so I guess they can buff or redo or nerf it as they see fit, even if it is a premium ship, gets a adjustment to her reload. Now, granted, this one is a slight buff, so probably not going to complain too much about this one. If it were a nerf, I would probably say differently. But her main battery reload goes from 40 to 38 seconds, which is, I mean, granted, I haven't gotten the Oklahoma myself, but that still sounds rather anemic to me. Fiji, let's see, deck armor thickness has been increased from 38 to 51 millimeters. So her deck armor is going to get some defense against, I guess, long or semi-long range or short range battleship fire. You won't be able to plunge straight through her deck, although I don't see why, unless it's something to do with bomb defenses. I don't know. I don't know. That seems like an odd one to me. Patrol fighters on researchable aircraft carriers, as well as Ark Royal, Eric Lowenhart, Graf Zeppelin, and Graf Zeppelin B have been increased. So this does not affect... Interesting. This does not affect Kaga, Enterprise, or Saipan. Or Indomitable. But anyway, the speeds on researchable aircraft carriers for patrol fighters have been increased to 187 knots for Tier 6, 221 for Tier... 187 for Tier 4, 221 for Tier 6, 235 for Tier 8, and 266 for Tier 10. Apparently, this is... and I suppose I should say that this has been a noticeable issue where you'll drop fighters in front of a enemy squadron, and a portion of the squadron will still get away because it will take forever for your fighters to chase it down. Now, granted, this is going to be something that players will have to contend with as well, but as far as something from a player's direct interface perspective, it is an improvement because it means you won't have as much lack of chance for escape from the enemy, that is. I hope that sounded coherent. I'm really not entirely sure. Let's see. Detectability of patrol fighters for all tier 6, 8, and 10 carriers has been increased to 7.5 kilometers. Amen. Because I can't not tell you how many times I have been about to fly through an area with one of my carriers and suddenly patrol fighter bubble and whoa, having to pull way over real quick to end up not in it. So that's a huge change, and I hope it helps. Granted, it does absolutely nothing if you're not paying attention, but it's still a huge help. Let's see. The other thing is effects that increase a squadron's engine boost time no longer increase the recovery time. Awesome. Because that is something else that I have problems with. If I use the engine boost on squadrons, it just seems like the recovery time for the engine boost it takes forever. With the result that I end up exhausting my engine boost and then I don't have the engine boost for the squadron for the remainder of the match just because I just don't have the time to let it rebuild in some cases. Especially if I'm doing successive attack runs. So, yeah. Let's see. Now we get to the content additions and changes. At Tier 8, we have a French battleship that is being added. Now, these are ships that are being added for testing, I might add, so be aware there is no information really out on these quite yet that I know of. We have Tier 8 French Flandre, and yeah, I'm sure I fully messed up the pronunciation on that. I really am not sure how much I care. It'll be interesting to see what she looks like as we get more information on her. Let's see. The Tier 10 German aircraft carrier, that sounds like a Steel or a Research Bureau ship to me, Max Immelmann, is being introduced. And a Tier 10 U.S. cruiser is being added as well. And to my understanding, she is to be, right down here, she is to be the replacement for the Summers in the Armory. So there is that to be said as well. Let's see, Pan American destroyer Jorua and Gallant have been added with a permanent camouflage detailed on how to... That tells me she's going to be a reward or special event ship. I'll bet you anything. I'm not even going to finish reading that statement. I'm not even sure how to pronounce half of it, and it is also late, so my brain really is not wanting to comprehend some of this. Let's see, starting with the release of Update 10.1, following ships will no longer be available to obtain. Georgia, and it's a good thing I've got mine. Alaska, good thing I've got mine. Massachusetts, I believe I've got the Mass B, and I really don't think I need another Massachusetts, but that's beside the point. Thunderer, okay. Really, I mean, I'm sure some people will argue with me on this one to the end of the world and back, but I really don't care about the Thunderer. And the Smaland. Again, not really sure how I feel about that one. Haven't played either Thunderer or Smaland to know if I'm missing anything. And in some regards, I mean, one, I almost never see the Smallland in co-op. Granted, that could just mean that nobody who plays it ever goes into co-op. And Thunderer, I mean, fighting it, I've honestly been unimpressed. I just never feel like I've had the desire to play it because I've never been impressed by it as an opposing ship. So, yeah, anyway. And, of course, Wargaming is using the excuse that they are very popular, have good combat efficiency, so they are removing them for an indefinite period of time, and that they may return later. And, of course, the whole advisement about accumulating resources, yada, 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 and just wanting to give players warning that ships are being removed, added, and may not be available anymore. So, there you have it. And now, of course, we get to just the little bug fix errors and things like that. Let's see. Video on startup screen now plays continuously during loading. To make it more explicit, we've added the display of early access ships in the tech tree as well as descriptions of their features. Okay. Increase the range at which Shikishima's main battery salvo can be heard. Interesting. Applied small fixes to the geometry and textures of ships such as Khabarovsk, Chukuma, Anchorage, Saipan, Gallant, Alsace, Bourgogne, and HFS Harakaze. Let's see. Updated icons for MRB, TRB, and Rapid Takeoff Spotter. Let's see. Updated interface for carrier armaments. Squadrons displayed in the armament group. Click on squadron to view consumables and armaments. That almost makes me wonder if they're planning on introducing interchangeable armaments for squadrons. That would be an interesting... That would be very interesting. We'll see where that goes anyway. Segment split of torpedo bomber reticles now depends on the number of aircraft in the attacking flight rather than the number of torpedoes. That's going to be very interesting because I think the segment split per torpedo gives you an idea of where each of those torpedoes are going to go. If you only have a single for the individual bomber, that makes me wonder if there's going to be a chance for them to just kind of all cluster into one segment of that or spread out to the maximum ranges. I don't know. Or it could just be a simple display adjustment. Let's see. F key after attack in the last flight on a squadron will skip the attack animation and move the camera back. Can't say that I've been bothered too much by that, but apparently somebody had to be in order to complain about it enough to bring that along. Let's see. When a squadron takes off, aircraft models no longer disappear from the deck of an aircraft carrier all at once, but rather disappear in turn. There's a part of me that thinks who cares, but I guess continuity or smoothness of animation, I don't know. Whatever. Let's see. Message about return of a squadron to the carrier has been removed. Granted, I haven't necessarily watched that so much, but it is nice to know when I have planes that do return to the carrier, as far as I'm concerned, so... I don't know. Let's see. Fixed error that caused information about damage sustained by aircraft carrier to be displayed incorrectly. I could see some people considering that a problem. To jump back to your ship because you are concerned by the amount of damage that you're taking back, only to find out that maybe you're taking less or suddenly more than you thought. So I could see how that would be a problem. Aircraft carrier icon to be displayed on the minimap incorrectly. Alrighty then. Aircraft on catapults to be displayed incorrectly. What, are they launching backwards? I mean, I'm sorry. I'd really want to know about that one just a little bit. This one could be problematic. Fixing an error that caused autopilot to plot an incorrect course. That could be very problematic, especially in a carrier. Let's see. Fixed an error that caused Vermont's anti-torpedo bulges to not go over her ends. If that actually affected the physical manifestation of the torpedo bulges in game, I could definitely see that being a problem, especially in regards to ship floodings and things like that. So, yeah, good on you. That's definitely going to be quality of life improvement, I think, for Vermont's Vermont players. Let's see. Fixed an error that caused improved repair party feature to be displayed for Kansas and Vermont sub-branch of U.S. battleships. Okay. Fixed an error that caused the reload time to not be displayed on the torpedo armament icon. If you're trying to time your torpedo drops, I suppose that would be a problem. Let's see. Fixed an error that caused the game client to crash when pressing enter on the promo screen. Not entirely sure what the promo screen is, but okay, sure, whatever. Let's see. Fixed an error that caused the game client to crash while loading a map. I've had that one happen to me, and it is annoying as hell. Fixed an error that caused the shell travel time displayed in the interface to remain the same when changing shell type. That can be problematic if trying to plot your aim. Fixed an error that resulted in Saipan having 40mm Bofors instead of 40mm Mark II anti-air guns. Continuous AA has been increased by a whopping 4 points per second. Wow! Stellar improvement, folks. I mean, I suppose if you're counting those 4 HP per second, it's a bonus, but still, I fail to see how that's helpful. Let's see. Fixed an error that caused chat window to remain active after pressing enter. Had that one happen to me a few times. Annoying as hell trying to figure out how to get it to get me out of the chat. Let's see. Fixed an error that caused previous squadron's attack time to be displayed when launching a new squadron from FDR. I've only done one battle in it, I'll be honest. Hadn't noticed anything like that. Maybe I just hadn't gotten it yet. But, okay, whatever. Fixed an error that prevented light bulbs on main battery guns from moving together with the barrels on Albemarle in the New Year camouflage. I'm imagining these random floating lights over the Albemarle's deck. It's possible I'm a little too amused by this one, being the fact that it is 3 a.m. and I am a little punchy as hell also. But, oh boy. Oh boy. Yep, nope, that image isn't coming out of my head anytime soon. Fixed an error that prevented Nueve de Julio's guns from moving. If it prevented them from moving or firing, I could see how that would be a problem. If it's simply that the animation doesn't move, but they are still actually moving and firing, I mean, visually, I could see how that would be problematic, so... But if it was an actual functional problem... Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that one. That would be a huge problem for the NDJ. Updated port camera position for New York. Unless they're talking about the ship New York, in which point I think they would actually have given like the flag and the ship symbol and everything. So it's the actual New York port that they're talking about. I'm not sure what all that does, honestly, but okay, whatever. Anyway, that just about finishes everything off for this particular sequence of the patch notes, and I suppose as I go through the new patch on, say, Thursday, which is my next day off right after the patch goes live, you will get to see some of my impressions, I'm sure, especially since I will likely go ahead and stream it directly on some of the new commander skills, and get to see my direct response and impressions on some of those. So anyway, I suppose I will move on to building up some combat experience in my FDR here to finish my review on her, although I'm kind of thinking I might actually wait to do that after the patch goes live on Thursday, so that I can get good review footage of her with the new ship skills. I think that might actually be the better idea now that I think about it. So, yeah, feel free to join me on Thursday for my stream. I can't guarantee a time. I will. I honestly cannot guarantee a time. My schedule at home is way too chaotic for that. I would like to shoot for mid-afternoon, but again, no guarantees. So, we'll see what happens. Anyway, on that note, I suppose I shall let everybody go. I hope you all enjoyed the video, found it informative about the upcoming patch, and I do hope to catch you all again later. Have a good one, folks, and I wish you all happy hunting.